Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Today we're going to talk about something very important, and that's how to be the best presenter that you can be. Now, there's a lot that goes into being a really good presenter, and try not to compare yourselves to others. We're talking about being the best you can be. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we're going to talk about time. Time is something that's very important. Many instances, your teacher or whoever it is will give you a certain amount of time that you're supposed to stick to. Now, it could be a longer presentation, like 10 to 20 minutes, or it could be a simple, really quick 1 to 2 minute presentation. Regardless of what it is, while you're gathering information, thinking about how things are going to go, it's always wise to think about how much time you're going to be able to spend with all these different facts. That way you keep to your time constraints. The next very important piece is visual versus auditory. The fact is that people prefer visuals over auditory, meaning that what you put on the screen matters. A really vibrant picture like this is going to go a long way in helping people understand and learn the things that you're saying. All right, and especially if they do connect directly to the message that you're trying to relay to them. Questions. Now, we're not talking about questions at the end of the presentation. What I'm talking about here are asking the question to yourself as you're gathering information: does every piece of data or whatever I'm going to present need a visual? Sometimes it's just well enough said. You don't necessarily need a visual for something, and that's okay. But it's just recognizing when that time comes. Now, something very important to keep in mind is that your emotions and your energy are going to be copied or duplicated by your audience. So if you come up with high energy and you're happy and confident, that's the way your audience is going to be too. They're going to be excited for your presentation. And it works the other way too. If you seem bored, that's how they might be. Another thing to worry about is this cat. Looks angry, defensive. If when people ask you questions about your presentation and you say things really quick back to them and you sound like you just don't want, you're being annoyed by what they're saying, they're probably not going to ask you questions. And as a matter of fact, they'll probably tune out and forget what you said during your presentation. However, if you're confident and you just feel like you should be up there, you feel good, that's how your audience is going to feel. And just like this eagle, you want to be confident and you want to be relied on as a person who can help them learn. However, if you are bored, look like you just don't care, again, that's how your audience is going to be perceiving it as well. So it's really important that you are confident and use good body language. Now, speaking of good body language, if we look at this frog here, he looks happy, standing up as straight as a frog can stand, looks ready to go. Now, the audience will copy this. There's a fancy word called paralinguistics. It means your body language, and it matters. The way that you stand, the way your facial expressions are, all of those things matter just as much as what you say. Now, something else to take into consideration is our stance. Just like in baseball, batters are taught to use a particular stance to help them hit the ball. We want to have a good stance when we're presenting, all right, because that's going to help us to keep our audience engaged. One of those things you want to think about are your hand motions, okay? It's okay to make good gestures and make them appropriate. Being off balance is something pretty common when we're first learning how to present. It'll feel like you're on a teeter-totter. It might feel like you're moving back and forth and swaying. The only problem with that is it distracts the people who are trying to learn and listen. So what we want to do is find a good, comfortable way to stand, and you know what? That might take practice. let's try to avoid standing with our arms folded. That's going to give off an impression that not only do you not care, but you don't want anyone else to care or bother you either. So try to avoid crossing our arms in front of our body. Looking at this, we've got our arms behind our back. While it looks pleasant, the only problem is it's not showing confidence. It's not giving anybody the idea that you have the ability to answer and help them learn. Now this gorilla, I don't think I would want to answer any questions or ask any questions from this person. When you are holding your hands at your side, you're pushing people away, okay, without even knowing it. You're saying, don't bother me. So take that into consideration when you're giving a presentation. Now, something that is very, very important, and you'll hear about a lot, is the volume of your voice. When you are speaking, it's really important that your audience hears you. The fact is, if they can't hear you, they'll start talking or thinking about other things, and they won't be learning from you. So while we don't need you screaming like you're outside playing a game of tag at recess, we really do need you speaking so that everybody can hear. And that might take practice because that does not come naturally to everybody. Podiums are something that you might get to use when you're presenting. It depends on the teacher in the classroom. Podiums are great. You can set your materials on the top and you can be all organized and ready to go. They may even have a microphone. But what we don't want to use them for is to lean on. With the podium, what I want you to think about is it's there as a resource to help me, but not for me to rest on. Give yourself maybe a foot distance from it, and we're not going to rest our hands or lean on it in any way. Be very careful of your arms. We don't want them all tangled up, okay? Your arm movements need to be appropriate. When you're doing that, what you want to be thinking about is, what arm movements do I need to help keep engaged with the audience, and what do I not need? Now, there's a lot of people that get nervous, which is normal, and maybe aren't looking happy, but you want to be using good paralinguistics and being happy, okay? Try to put on a nice face using good body language. Remembering the stance of the batter, I want you to think about making eye contact with the audience. If you want to make eye contact, that's going to help keep your audience engaged. And so just like the batter, who is going to want to make contact with the ball, the batter is going to have to keep his eyes on the ball. That's no different in the classroom giving a presentation. You can keep your audience engaged, listening and learning, if you keep eye contact as much as possible. There are a lot of things that you can research and find that will help you be a good presenter, and frankly, it can be overwhelming. But what we want to do right now is focus on my top 5. The first one is called note. Now, with this one, what I want you to think about is keeping brief notes to give cues. Try not to depend on notes or stare at the notes. The next one is practice, and this goes for everybody. Practice is so important. Practice your presentation in an empty classroom or area, and use those things you know you need to get better at. Stance, voice level, all those things we talked about. The next one is going to be remember. Okay, remember that the audience has no idea what you're going to say. So if you make a mistake, keep going. Another one is laughing. Okay, laugh at your mistakes. Everyone's going to be presenting, and the fact of the matter is, everyone makes mistakes. So have fun with it. And lastly, we've got enjoy. I want you to truly enjoy the presentation, have fun with it, and enjoy your time on stage, because it is an opportunity to get better and grow. So one thing that you might feel when you're doing this is overwhelmed. It might feel like a lot. Try not to feel overwhelmed. Try to enjoy the experience knowing everybody does it. So being the best presenter you can be isn't always easy. But with practice and thinking ahead of time about the things you want to improve on will help you do a really, really good job.